It is entertaining, it is educating, it is informative. It is the Friday Night Mix Show with Fola Atoloye. Join in every Friday from 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time till the mic drops. Friday Night Mix Show. Tune in to the fun.
Let your spirit find my spirit.
All right, welcome to the Friday Night Mix Show.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Lara is back.
I'm back. I missed you guys.
I'm always extra happy when I see you back. Honestly.
Thank you.
And of course, we've got the beautiful Katrina in the house. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
It's great to have you around. And if you're listening and joining us from wherever in the world, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being part of this. Today is going to be fun, as usually is.
Yeah.
And we hope to just speak our brains and see what we can discuss today. Thank you so much for joining, for coming down, actually driving down. That's really great. And also, we still have on the line our very good friend, David Alabi. David, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, David.
We're 2 hours apart.
Okay.
Good.
David Alabi. David, say hi.
Oh, sorry. I had to mute that. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Thanks for joining. All right, so we're just going to go straight into it, right? Like we had this conversation last week. I had somebody call me from Nigeria and say, Fola, do you know that in the last 2 years I've been depressed and I had suicidal thoughts and nobody knew it. The mom didn't know it, the wife didn't know it, nobody knew it. But it was just God that he said, he referred to you as like exactly your experience. He got to that spot and he knew that God just brought him back, and he has not shared it with anybody. Wow. But with the conversation we had last week, he was able to thank you so much for that. Thank you for bringing the lady to the show, because I was able to learn, and so you don't know who this is going to touch, right? And that's why we're doing the show, to make sure that Laura, how was your week out?
It was okay.
Any news for us?
It was a good week. No news. It was a challenging week. Lots of stuff to go through. But it's just the life, like the day-to-day stuff, right?
You're looking as radiant as usual.
I try. It's the skincare.
All right, Katrina, thanks for joining us also. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get back to the conversation. It's suicide, right? I've got a lot of questions, but let's start from here. And I really don't want it to be like a question and answer kind of thing. We have three ladies. 2
ladies and 1 gentleman. 2 gentlemen.
Yeah, we have 2 gentlemen, one in the house, one on the Zoom, and then we have 2 pretty ladies in the house. So let it be chatty, right? Let's just talk. But let me just kick it off by saying that last week we talked about the cause and effect of mental health and all of that, our leads to that. And today we're gonna just hammer more on how do we prevent it. More of that. I like to just start off by saying that, we all go through things in life. Like, life is going to bring that hard moment to you. And I wrote down this question because I didn't want to forget it, or I didn't want to ask it a different way. I wanted to make sure that, because the way it came to me was really clear. So I said, should we work more on helping people build capacity to withstand life's issues? So what I'm trying to say is, we're all going to face issues in life, and we're all going to have that moment where you're like, I'm tired, I'm done. But should we be more concerned about building the capacity in people that even if your situation is so hard, you still know that there's something in the future for me. I don't have to give up now. I can do that. I'm throwing that into the house. What do you think, Katrina?
First of all, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
I absolutely do believe that we do need to build that capacity before it gets to a point, because obviously for some, once it gets to a point, it's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah.
So we need to learn how to cope and take care of ourselves and eat the right things, daily routines, checking in on yourself, giving yourself a break,
Yeah.
not being so hard on yourself. I talk about this all the time because we are the worst to our own selves. And we never tell ourselves, you're okay, thank you for doing a good job, you're gonna be okay.
Yep.
You know, writing things down, there's just so many things that you can do before you get to such a bad point. So when you do actually sometimes fall into that bad point, you have your coping mechanisms to already go back, okay, let me remind myself and go back here and do this. And sometimes you just have to call it a day and be like, today is just the day I'm gonna feel these emotions, I'm gonna let it be, and I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and start fresh. And
Yeah.
leave yesterday behind.
good.
Laura, what do you think?
I do think that we do need to build capacity or to equip people. Especially nowadays, we have a ton of resources. So I think that works for us to have those resources. A couple years back, it was lack of resource, right? We didn't have the internet. We didn't have knowledge at the tip of our fingers, right? So it was harder for people to be aware. It was harder for people to be knowledgeable about coping and creating systems. But now with technology, that's one of the plus sides, right? Sides that we can access things, and then I can check in on people a lot faster now. I can FaceTime you, I can call you, I can text you. But that being said, I want to ask Katrina, so what kind of systems do you have in place when you feel like you're coming down from a high and you're kind of going into like a depression, or kind of like the darker moments? Do you have systems in place to kind of get you back out of there?
So first, what I do now is I assess what's going on in my life, who's around me,
Okay.
what situations I'm in, why am I feeling this way,
way.
what am I not doing, have I missed some things that I'm not giving myself a little self-love,
Okay.
at the time had I maybe not taken my medication when I took it, and I assess the
Yeah.
situation. So
Yeah.
then that's where I go in to be like, okay, is it something realistic or unrealistic about what I'm feeling? And that you break it down. I literally write it down. What am I feeling? So if I'm having anxiety or I'm having depression or I'm super, super sad,
Yep.
I will write down, okay, what is realistic about what I'm feeling right now? But then what's unrealistic? And when you see that, your brain reacts to it because then
Yeah.
you go, oh, it's not that bad.
Right.
Right?
Is it fair to say, I had a conversation with a friend, so my logical side of my brain will say, when you're in the unhealthy moments of yourself, right? We have like our strengths and our weaknesses, right? So we're in our weakest moments of ourselves. We think really irrational thoughts.
We do.
Like, and it can go on a spectrum, right? We can have kind of irrational, then we can go way off the deep end. So is that saying like for every irrational, we can match it with a rational thought? So for example, I say, I feel so alone right now. I feel like there's nobody around me. I can match that with, no, I have my friends. I have a companion, I have my children, I have a job.
My parents,
right? A community. I know some people maybe don't have as big of a community,
yeah.
but
it's something you can still identify.
yeah. So for every irrational, there's a rational thought, and I feel like that at least
That's really practical.
calms
I
me
like that.
down, right? It's something you can do. But pen to paper, that's powerful too.
It really does help, and like I'm just old school that way.
Yeah,
and
I am
it
too.
goes in my brain better, so
Yeah.
that's why I do it. But those irrational thoughts become extremely real to somebody that is doing that. So it is hard if you continue to be in the irrational thoughts day
Constantly.
in and day out. It
Yeah.
becomes your reality,
Right.
which then becomes very scary on how
Yeah.
it can go down.
Let's get to David on the phone because I know he's been gently waiting. He's a gentleman actually. David, so I'm gonna pose the question to you also, right? Capacity building. Do we need to spend more time doing that? I mean, when I say do we need, I mean, do we all need? Because sometimes you might not have anybody training you doing all this thing. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, okay, I'm still young, do you need to go all out and look for resources that builds your capacity, builds your leadership skills, and all of that? What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much. I had waited for this. It's important, like the ladies in the studio said. I haven't said that because it's like someone who wins a lottery and feels like more money is the answer to his financial problems. All right. So, and that's the way many people think these days. We are working for more money. And so life is all about credits and debits. Okay. So if you are not, if you are withdrawing more than you are putting
Depositing.
into yourself, One day you're going to run out. Okay, so that is where I talk about the concept of emotional detoxification. And that is an aspect where you have to consciously and intentionally detox your emotions. You got to get to a place where you know that you have to separate your emotions. Like someone said in the studio about balancing your thoughts, balancing the negative thoughts and just taking them out. Now you sit down. I think Christina said that. Like you sit down, you evaluate what happened, and you have a proper analysis. You can analyze what happened. You can separate yourself from the situation, and then you deal with it. You deal with the situation, not yourself. You don't eat yourself hard, you eat hard on the situation. Okay. And so if you are able to have that moment of emotional detoxification, some people do it every day, like before you go to bed. Some people do it weekly. Some people do it bi-weekly. If you can't do it on your own, you find someone that you can actually do this with. And we've been taught the act of self-talk. Like you stand before the mirror and you begin to talk to yourself. That can also be an avenue of you doing your emotional detoxification. And you look into the mirror and say to yourself that what your father called you that is negative is not you. What your friends called you that is negative is not you. What the situation actually depicts. I mean, of course, it's a matter of perspection. I mean, if someone sees you, if something happened, and this is the way you were portrayed by the situation that happened, you have to come to a place where you tell yourself, that was an event. That was not me. I tell people all the time, you see, I'm going to digress a bit. When we talk about relationships, I know that it's good enough for you to understand someone, study someone, go that long way before you commit to anything. But the truth is that life on its own is dynamic. You don't even know yourself enough. We surprise ourselves every day.
time.
True.
And so when you understand that and that is the nature of the human mind, it's so complex, it's so dynamic that you will you will do stuff that you will look back and be like, did I just do that? And so when you get to that moment, forgive yourself. Look into the mirror. If it's a good one, applaud yourself. If it's a negative one, look into the mirror and say, that was not me back then. What did I just do? Now come back to yourself, detox emotionally, get that behind you, and then you do the balance, do the credits and the debits, and then you go on with life.
Thank you so much. That's really insightful, right? Because I was just going to ask him, what's the practical way to emotionally detoxify, and he just said it. I mean, looking into the mirror and saying, and not looking into the mirror to like blame yourself.
No.
But looking into the mirror to say the negative things spoken around you or said around you or thoughts in your mind, you're just trying to like know that I need to get it out of me.
Yeah.
And get the positive one in. And even if you've made mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Or actions.
It's just, like I said, it's not me. That was a mistake. I can be better. I will be better and all of that. That's really good. I mean, I don't know if you...
Good. Well, so now that brings me to another question. So David said, you have this emotional detox. How often do you guys emotionally detox? Because I am a daily person.
You're a daily person.
I'm a daily reflector. Yeah, I have to.
I definitely am daily because I can't carry anything with me.
Same.
Yeah,
can't.
I don't take like a hot bath every day, but it is something that I definitely have to like shower, do my certain skin regime, my self-love, look at myself. Actually look at yourself in the mirror because we look at ourselves, but we don't look at ourselves. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's true.
Very true.
I write a lot too.
Yeah.
So like if I am really getting racy in my thoughts and things are getting overwhelmed, I'll be like,
get it off.
And then I'll review the next day and then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's very important. Another thing, is how I eat.
Yeah.
And vitamins.
We're going to get to the food part, right? I don't want to say to jump there. We're going to get to the food part. So we're also live on Instagram. I won't be able to see. Hi, Instagram people.
Yeah.
So for me, do I do a daily thing?
Yeah.
If I ever get to I remember when I went to play soccer. There was a day I went to play soccer and I had a rough that day. Like I had some kind of conversation with one of my, we're not close then. I just joined the group.
Okay.
And I felt bad, like this guy spoke to me the way I didn't like, and I was thinking about it. And while I was having that thought, he sent me a text and said, I'm sorry about what happened earlier and all of that.
Okay.
And I said to myself, like, thank God I didn't think about it too much. Because sometimes you get to it, like, why did she behave that way to me? Or why did he behave that way to me? Sometimes they might not even know. Sometimes there might be remorse where they are, and they're also trying to apologize and all of that. So try and always, get these things out of your system as soon as possible. I would also say maybe for me, I'm a daily person too. I before I sleep, I'll think about the way the day has gone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I did that wrong. Okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do better.
Try to do better. Yeah.
So
It's also a thing when you come across people that have those situations. I used to be very reactionary, so I'd be like jump on things, right? So now I dissect things and I evaluate, and then I also go into kindness first, because you can come across a waitress or something, and we've had it, and I'm like, oh, that was rude,
Right.
and I'm like, wait a second, Katrina, maybe that person's going through something. Maybe they just need somebody to be nice.
I always
True.
say that I
Very
always
true.
make excuses for people first, right? And even in my thought process, I'm always gonna think, why did that person react that way? Maybe they're going through issues. Maybe they, So if you make excuses for people, you are definitely gonna never get it wrong, because eventually you'll be able to okay, you know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
And you make those excuses.
It's the term that everyone uses, giving someone the benefit of a doubt, right? It's just coming from that kindness approach, which I try to lead that way too, and just being less reactive, right? Don't internalize everything so much. Just be like, you know what? If I can have an off day, then absolutely someone else can have an off day.
Yes.
And me reacting to them doesn't make anything any better, right? It amplifies whatever negativity is there.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, let me come to David. Before we get to the how meal, food, and all of that can also help, mood and all of that, is because last week we actually reeled out numbers, the percentages. I think in the US about 46,000 people commit suicide every year.
Wow.
In Canada, it's about 5,000 people, which is not a good number, right? Whatever way we look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just came to my mind. Could it be that the reason why this is exponentially grown, the number of death by suicide, could it be cultural? Could it be because we're in this day you find people promoting so much of wealth, sometimes even ill-gotten wealth and stuff like that, and people can't catch up, and they're like, you know what, my life is just I'm just terrible. I'm never gonna make it in life. Could that be part of the problem also? Is that a problem or is not a problem at all?
I think it could be a huge problem in certain cultures, or a lot of cultures actually, because the pressure is so high to achieve so much. And if you are having this weight on your shoulders, or the backpack of rocks, I like to call it, right? You're carrying around a load and baggage with you, and then you have these expectations of your culture or family and things. It starts just going. Then the irrational, everything just keeps, and you keep adding on to that backpack.
And you're not dropping it.
And you're not dropping anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Laura, before we go to David, what do you think?
I do think culture has a big part to play in it. And just how we kind of mentioned off air, your belief system can have play a part in it, like religion, right? The way that your family was raised, even the country that you're from. There's certain countries that are super prideful, and that seeps into our traditions and the things that we do and how we raise our children and how we were raised. And then you see that, my culture, it's good to have the fancy car and this much money and this big house and this type of status.
That is my culture.
And I think all of us have a little bit. And then when you see that you're maybe not in line with that, I feel like some people that aren't equipped to process
that pressure,
then they fall under that pressure, and then that turns into self-sabotage mode.
David,
I really do think so.
David, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just smiling over here.
I heard you giggling.
You coming from a culture where everything is loud, and then I think that is a kind of cultural background myself and Fola's
Where we come from. Yeah.
We're loud. We're big.
When you say loud, we're loud.
We are
Just a little.
We are the North American cousins you guys never had. We're just like the United States guys. Everything about the US is big. And then it's loud, it's fanciful. There is something in scripture, Psalm 42 verse 5, Psalm 43 verse 5, Psalm 42 verse 11, same thing. David there was just praying and he said, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? And there was something next he said. He said, why are you at, why are you, well, I mean, why the unease within me? And that uneasiness, that discomfort, everybody gets to that stage in life. And somebody mentioned pressure, which is very real, either from your peers, from your mates. Again, when you look at the statistics for suicide, you would discover that a whole lot is happening for people in their mid-life, or prior to midlife or about midlife. I'm talking about people before the age of 40, 45, 30 something. And it's just because they look at their mates and then they compare, and they be like, I'm not measuring up. You know how many people would never go back to their old student association meetings or events? They don't want to go there. And those who go, they're going there to compare. Like, okay, so where is he? Where am I? And all of that. And I think last week we said something about that you got to get to a stage in your life where you have to live life on your own terms.
Yep.
Okay, it doesn't matter what people would talk. Like they say, talk is cheap. They will talk. The funny thing about people who talk is that, especially when you go on social media, everybody is posting fake life. They're only showing you what they want you to see.
It's just the highlight
Not
reel.
but the behind the scene. You don't want to see the behind the scene, of course. If you see what is behind what they are showing you, you probably would change your mind. Okay, and so you have to come to the point where, and I dare say that, look, if you have to shut yourself off from social media, sometimes you have to. It's part of the emotional detoxification.
Correct.
Yeah, because detoxification is not just exiting, toxic stuff from your system. It's also preventing further toxic stuff from getting access into your emotions. So you have to identify what are those avenues or those areas where these toxic stuff are coming in from. It could be from your parents. It could be from friends. It could be from the social media. And you look at the display of wealth that was a guy that, I won't mention his name, I mean, everybody wanted to be like him. He's here in Paris. Yeah. Right now, he's putting off his heels in jails in the US.
I know him.
But you know him, right? Everybody wanted to be like him.
That's true.
Most people never knew what he was doing. They never asked the right question. And so our culture is placing so much value on the result and not the process. And you see, when you begin to understand that the process is much more important than the result, then you will put life in perspective. That you could be, I don't know how old this guy was, Colin Sanders, the KFC guy. But I knew that he was quite old.
It was old when he achieved. I think it was into his 70s before he started the KFC.
Yeah. Before he opened KFC.
Yeah. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
he was
knew
really
it
old. I think it was 71. I read about the story.
Today, the guy is gone. KFC is still standing.
Exactly.
All right? So that is the point. Understand the process. Your process could take you 30 years, but it will outlast you. And then if you want to run with people who are like in the limelight now, it's just like comparing a 1994 model of a Mercedes-Benz. In those days, those who had the Mercedes 1994 model were the top guys, okay?
Yeah.
But today, that same car is probably worth nothing right now. Either give it to you, you want to throw it away.
Well, maybe
like
classic.
Your iPhone 6. Yeah. No, iPhone 6 is still okay. iPhone 4.
iPhone 4.
iPhone 4.
It's not even iPhone doesn't service iPhone. Apple doesn't service iPhone 4 anymore.
We don't recognize it no more.
Even iPhone 10 right now, I think Apple has already told them you can't bring it. We don't service them anymore. So throw them away. And you see, so wait for your time. Okay, so when you understand the process, that life is a process, it's going to help you to really process things. And when that uneasiness comes, because it will always come.
It will always come.
It will always come.
It will.
It will always come. Understand, you are going through a process. No pregnant woman is envious of a woman carrying her own child.
That's true.
Because she knows that
my time
is coming. She's going to carry her own baby very soon. I think I'll leave it there.
That is such an important point,
That is
because a
powerful
lot of people, And I'm 42, and I went through these things in the last 3 years, and I was like, oh my gosh,
God.
I'm 42, my life is over, and I'm like, now I'm like, wait, whoa, no,
Like,
I
there's
am
so
just
much more.
beginning.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
the pressure of those things and all that, you know, like people get wrapped up in that, and it's really important to think that. So those points, just every thought through my head, David, that was great. Because,
That was
Yeah.
great.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it is exactly that. It is a process. You have to learn to walk before you run. You
Yeah.
cannot give a baby a steak.
Yeah.
So I feel the things that happened to me has prepared me for another level of success
Yeah.
in my life.
That's
Yeah.
that I
correct.
will be able to handle.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
and just going back to what I said around building capacity. Because if you understand that life is a process,
Yeah.
then you understand that what you're putting in now is going to probably generate something in the future. For example, if you're planting a seed, the seed you plant, some would come out in 6 months.
Yeah.
Some oak trees might be 12 years.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
once you know the processes, you know that, okay, if my time is not now, but I know that my time would come
True.
sometime soon. So it's really thank you for that,
Yeah.
David, for that. those
It
points.
gives you more insight and
perspective.
perspective. Yeah,
Yes, let me just
exactly.
call out the number again. Last week we did. If you ever need help, mental, issues, you're going through any kind of issue, and you're suicidal in thoughts and all of that, please call this number. If you're residing in Canada, it's 1-833-456-4566. Please don't hesitate to call. Someone is at the other end of the line. Is going to pick up the call and talk to you. And I also found that, when you talk to sometimes, when you're able to talk to somebody about whatever you're going through, it helps to.
It does.
It's like a catharsis for
Yeah.
what you're going through.
Another thing, if you maybe some people don't have some of these issues, they coast through life. So if you come across somebody, it is very important to validate them.
Yeah.
Very important to give them validation in what they're feeling, but also try to spin it gently into
Yeah.
the other
To
the
things we've
positive
been
side.
talking.
Yeah. Because we don't want to. I heard this term. We don't want to coddle anybody, their insecurities or anything like that, right? But I do believe in like what I was sharing with Katrina is I don't suffer from bouts of depression or anxiety, so it's hard for me to relate sometimes. But what I have learned through process, through life, through observation of my friends and the community around me is that I can say your feelings are so valid because that's what you're feeling, right? And I can absolutely sympathize with you. But what can we do to turn this thing around, right? What kind of actions can we put in place? How can I help you? Like, does that mean I'm calling you every day, check in on you? Does that mean we're taking a walk once a week to like get fresh air or like whatever type of systems I can help someone, right? Then I'm there for them. And then also for myself, just realizing like, I'm not going to sit here and mope. It's like, I can take my day. Sometimes it's a week, right? To kind of sit in your gloom and doom.
Yeah.
But then like, let's go. Let's try to empower ourselves or to find resources. I'm a talker, so I have my tribe of like, I'm calling my sister,
Yeah.
I'm calling dad, I'm
Yeah.
calling my brother. And it's like, hey, this happened. And then, I feel lighter and I feel good, right?
I think, and I'm going to throw this to David. We are now seeing an uptick in suicide in Africa also. It never used to be. In fact, there was a time that I'm sure David would agree with me, where it was said that Nigerians are the happiest people on earth. Because we're going through so much and the suicide rate was so low, people were not. That has changed now.
Okay.
I also think part of the cultural, we had the loud culture, but we also had a very communal culture where there's always an auntie somewhere, there's always an uncle somewhere.
That's good.
Apart from your father and your mother, even if you lose your father and your mother, there's always somebody, there's that structure. David, do you think these things are being eroded and that's why there's an uptick in the numbers of suicide, especially in Africa?
That's a good question.
Thank you, Fola. Speaking to our African audience, and I think I would also want it's something that we want to export to other cultures. The communal living, creating a community. In Africa, it is believed that it's a village. It takes a village to raise a child. That is, like back in Africa, you do something wrong
Everyone can.
outside of your house, the neighbors are going to be on your case.
Yes.
Because they know your parents, and they be like, no, his parents are not like that. They know the value.
David, let me pause you for a minute. So let me just pause that thought. Let me give you my experience. So when I was growing up, I was just 17, and I picked up the cigarette, and I was smoking.
Oh no.
That was I think I smoked for 6 months. So I was just on the road, feeling like a big boy, like smoking, and then I saw my neighbor, and she was like, "What?" Because my dad is the pastor, right? And my mom, and like what? And then this is why, till tomorrow, I would always respect that woman. She then said, "Promise me you're going to stop. Like, I'm not going to tell your parents for this one that I've seen, but you have to promise me that you stop smoking." And that was the last day I held a cigarette.
Good.
So, like, just to buttress what he's saying, it takes a whole community and a whole village to raise, we believe in Africa. Please go ahead, David.
Thank you very much. So that resonates with you. Now, and again, I'm also happy we're having this show because we've had a lot of migration in the last few years into North America. And a whole lot of our people are also dropping this culture, and then they're picking up the cultures of where we are right now, where you're gonna have two people living in a condo, and then you don't even see your next door neighbor. You don't even know what's going on there. I've had cases of people who commit suicide, and then the cops had to come in to break the door. Nobody's aware, no friend, nothing. It's kind of a very lonely life. You guys in Calgary right now, it's so cold over there.
Are you trying to shade us?
you know that.
Yeah, it's nice today. Today was cool.
It's good. Like, for so many years, my study on the impact of sunlight and mental health was it wasn't really highlighted because the big names, the big pharma, nobody was paying attention to it. And then I think back in 2016, I began to speak across the United States. I began to speak across Africa, and especially in the United States, that the high rate of suicide, of depression, mental health issues, it can also be can be linked to the little exposure to sunlight, because vitamin D does a whole lot more than just the sunlight that we receive. And so when you look at, we now enter into the winter season where we have longer nights and shorter days, and then everybody is clamped indoor. We also wear all of the stuff to lay out because of the weather and the cold. So we are protecting ourselves a whole lot from whatever sunlight exposure that we can get. Now, that also affects or impact on our community living. So everybody will just do their own thing in their own way, in their own corner. There is no relationship, there is no coming together. This would not help your mental health. You got to find your own tribe. Create your own tribe, and don't expect perfection, because this is the reason many people are keeping to themselves. They're looking for the perfect people. And see, once you start finding people who are like always critical of other people, somebody is not good, somebody's done that, you gotta step away a bit from such people, because nobody is perfect. So if you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find a tribe. But when you understand that, you make that allowance, you create that gap that people are going to mess up. And then you just love on people the way you can, and then have this community. It's going to help you. So even when they throw their stuff at you, you are able to dodge, because you already, created that allowance for them that a time is going to come, something is going to happen. So it's better off than you staying in your corner, because most people have left associations that will have helped them. Some have left churches, they've left community, they've left meetings, they've left groups because of offense. Someone did that to me. So you see the irony of life is so funny, because it's like a lion. When you see this documentary of lions and in the safari, you see, if a lion is going to go after an animal, you could have 1,000 animals together, and the lion roars, and then they begin to run. He's going to look for the most isolated animal from the pack. And so, if you are the most isolated in life, you are only setting up yourself for mental illness, for depression, for whatever. You see, they say misery has no, it has no company. Is that what they said?
That's true.
So you don't want to like, okay, I live for like 2-3 years alone, nothing, no kids, nothing. It was then I knew the value of having people sit around you to eat with.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Do you know how lonely it can be to eat alone?
Of course.
And many people listening to us right now tonight are going to be dining alone. No friend, no nothing. You got your dogs, you got your pets, okay? I've had that too. But you need that human touch.
Yeah.
You have to reach out. You have to start building the bridge. If you've broken bridges, instead of building walls, bring down the walls. Allow people into your space. With discretion, though, but you cannot be an island. You cannot be isolated. It's a very dangerous place to be.
And oh wow, that's so. I don't know where David went to, but it's just dropping these things, and it's just hitting me in my heart.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. And I mean, we're gonna get to the meals now, but it's more or less like even in your relationship that you build. First, if you don't succeed, let's say you got the wrong people around you. I mean, just try all over again. Try again.
Yeah.
Keep those walls down.
It's true, because I've done what David said, where I would just cut people off at the first offense, where I was like, no, don't got time for this, right? And that was a young, immature mentality, because it doesn't give grace, right? So then moving forward through my life, I can still have boundaries and I can find healthy friendships. That doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, though. So I do definitely implement that now. But I don't have room for toxicity. And there's a difference there, right? You can have friends and you can make all this space for growth and for mistakes and for resolution. But I can also say, you know what, this person's actually just quite negative. They would bring, my mental state down. That's where I draw the line. So you can definitely build a community, I think, with proper boundaries. Yeah.
So I'm just going to take your thoughts on that too, Katrina. But please, if you're on Instagram and Facebook, leave a comment, leave a question. On TikTok, leave a question. We can ask those questions, and then we can talk about it too. Katrina, any thoughts on that?
I think it's really important. I had to take out some people in my life as well that were not serving my boundaries, abusive things, family members, different things that from traumas and stuff that led to what I went through, I had to remove. And it is very difficult when it is a family member and stuff, but you have to remember you matter, and that your mental health matters, and that you don't deserve those types of things to contribute to already what you're going through, and to serve yourself well. Sometimes not everybody can be here with you.
Yeah.
True.
Very true.
True. All right. So, Mr. David is a nutritionist. I like to put it that way.
Ooh.
So,
Great. Let's get some nutrition tips.
So, can it help? Can food help? Is your dieting important to how you? Oh, there's a way I wrote the question, but I don't have my phone here. So, does your diet affect your liver?
A great deal, Fola. A great deal. That is why, I'm going to use a simple example. Like, if someone is going to control you when you're going into a negotiation, he's going to call you over to have that negotiation over food. Smart people will get to the table and will negotiate first before touching the plate. People who are not smart, they keep eating while they are talking, while they are negotiating. Your power, because your brain, when it comes to food, will not function at its maximum capacity while you are eating. And again, depending on what you are even eating. Now, there are certain things. That is why you never see a depressed monkey. The reason you never see a depressed monkey is because of banana.
That's a good point.
As funny as that is, as simple as it is, it's just to show you what how banana lifts your emotions. Yeah, there are certain things in it that is known that, look, you eat it, it keeps you happy. It has a happy happy hormones, then it boosts it within your system, and then you get up. And then I started, like last week, we're talking about sugar. We talked about salt. You know, it took a long while before the issue of sugar, the issue of salt, even the issue with caffeine, coffee, before they could be accepted. But we've come to accept them right now because just in February, studies came out and they were like, if you take about 4 cups of coffee in a week, you are more susceptible for cancer. It's not me that said so. It's a study.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And some people drink way more than 4 cups of coffee a day.
Oh yeah, totally.
Canada lives on coffee.
Yeah.
Our biggest investment, our biggest company in Canada is
Tim
Tim
Hortons.
And
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not part of that statistic. But
because if I'm gonna go into the world, Starbucks, Tim Hortons. I tell anybody any day, it's Tim Hortons. I don't care about Starbucks. But you know what Tim Hortons sells the most? It's sugar. Okay, and then you need to watch it because sometimes you can't just place your hands on why
What's
you're
causing
feeling
your
the way
mood?
you're feeling.
True.
Yeah,
True.
the mood. You don't know why. But I always tell people, if you can just cast your mind back to your diet, few hours before that mood, you might be able to like place a finger on what exactly is wrong with you. It could be something you are eating. And I'm going to give some examples. Sometimes it's not even what you are eating. It could be the amount, the quantity of what you consume. Like if you go to bed with a heavy diet, heavy meal, because your system, everything about you is going to like prioritize how to digest what you've taken in. Everything, not just your stomach right now. Even your emotions will run towards that digestion. Because for your body at that time is survival. And that is the most important thing. You've stuffed your system with so much that they need to like get rid of it. So everything is going to shut down. Like sometimes you finish eating, you want to go to sleep. And then you begin to yawn. Why? You've taken too much than necessary. All right?
Yeah.
And again, all of this, because see, there is a connection between your brain and your gut.
true.
And that is why many expressions of our minds, they are felt in our stomach. When you are angry, when you're upset, you can feel it down within your core. The same thing when you are happy. Okay? When you are happy, you feel it within. I have seen people who express fear by having a running stomach. They want to go to the bathroom immediately and they begin to like
Anxiety,
empty their
all
bowel.
those feelings. Yeah.
It's an emotion. It's an emotion, but it is expressed right in your stomach. So what I'm saying is that there is a connection between what goes into your stomach and the way your brain interprets and processes information, thoughts, and stuff like that. Okay, so I won't be able to like give you like nutritional advices here because again, I shouldn't do that. Okay, because it's important for you to consult your doctor, your nutritionist, and then they give you a professional advice because everybody has gotten their own limits. The stuff you react to. For example, when I talk about sugar right now, okay, for some people, it might not be an issue for them. But for some people, it could be an issue for them, and they do not know. And so we are not all the same. We're not equal. You have to know your limits. You have to go for testing, and then work within your limits. Work within your limits, okay? Sugar could cause you sleeplessness. And, when you begin to go sleepless, your mind, confusion sets in. You probably wouldn't be able to think straight. And you see, now we're having studies going on for Alzheimer's, for dementia, for Parkinson's. These are disorders that probably they will tell you is found in old age. But they are no longer old age things. They are things that you even find in people at 45 and 50,
56.
and they're having all of these issues. And you wonder what is going on. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about food. Okay, but generally, I only give this general advice. Number one advice is that try to eat your food as natural as possible.
Very much.
Okay? So when you take any product on the shelf in the store, when you begin to see names that your grandmother would not be able to pronounce
Yeah,
or
exactly.
will not relate with, what that is telling you is that a lot has gone into that thing, into that food beyond the actual food.
Yeah.
What the effect of those things that they have added to it, you may not know. You may not be able to say this is the way it's going to affect or impact your health or your system. You see, animals sometimes are smarter than humans. Ants are smarter than some humans. If you place an organic fruit on the table and you place one that is not organic, that's been processed on the table, give it some few minutes. You will see the animals, they will go to the ones that is organic. Because the nutrients are still there. They're going to avoid the processed food.
Yeah.
Some people have not even done that experiment before. Because all their lives they're used to process, and you cannot keep taking processed stuff. So that is one. Number two, the advice on diet that I will always give is this: eat according to your age. There is age-related eating. Okay. Now, a 14-year-old boy could eat so much food and still be jumping around. In fact, he's going to be opening the refrigerator for snack or something else. What can he take more? But when you are 35 and 40, you can't eat the same way you used to eat when you are 15 or 14.
You shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't eat that way because it's going to slow down your system. It's like a snake. When a snake feeds, because the digestive system is so slow.
So slow.
A snake, the most vulnerable time in the life of a snake is after they've been fed.
True.
And that is the way it is for most people. And we don't understand this, that look, after feeding, you are vulnerable. Your emotions are vulnerable. You don't know it, but that's what happens to you every time. Your emotions are vulnerable. Your health is vulnerable. You can't move the way you want to move. You're sluggish. You're slowed down. You wonder, why am I being slowed down? You want to go for a cup of coffee. You take the coffee. It slows you down the more. It's because of the portion. Yeah. You're not portioning your diet, your food. You're taking too much. So you want to regulate that. Then number three is also the timing. The timing. All right. So I talked about the first thing I said was about you eating your food as close to nature as possible. And number two, I said, what was it again? I said for number two.
Age.
It's eating your food as a proportionate to your age.
Yeah.
Yeah, proportionate to your age. And so number three that I would say will probably help almost everybody is the timing of the food. So when you wake up in the morning, you have to understand what your body is going through. Your body is going through a process, or your body prioritizes detoxification when it wakes up in the morning. And so when you start your day, that is why most people with functioning systems would have a bowel movement the first thing in the morning, because the body's highest function, the function the body prioritizes at that time is to detox, exit, take out, cleanse itself. And that is the miracle of the human body. You know, a lot of stuff is just factored into it. The body will heal itself with or without medication if it is properly fed and the abuse is stopped.
True.
You stop the entrance, you block all those places where the toxins are coming from. If you can block them and then you feed your body intentionally, it will heal itself and it will survive anything. All right. So in the morning, when your body is doing that cleansing, cleaning itself, it's not a time for you to go sit before in our culture, I don't know if Laura has heard about fufu.
Fufu, do you know fufu?
Fufu.
You would know. Very Nigerian.
She knows fufu. Yeah, she knows fufu. Katrina knows fufu. It's really heavy.
Very.
Okay, but that time is not a time to eat any cooked meal. Try to eat uncooked meals at that time. And
so David, can I interrupt you? What I've been implementing the past 2 weeks, I've been juicing in the morning because I'm trying to implement better habits. So I went and bought celery, carrots, apples, pineapples, spinach, blueberries. I cut it all
Awesome.
up, and now in the morning, because I'm a breakfast girl, like I want the bread and I want eggs and bacon and everything. So now instead I whip up my my fruit and veggie smoothie, and I take a good glass, right, with all the greens, all the antioxidants, all the anti-inflammatory, and that's what
Awesome.
I've been drinking in the morning for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, and I feel good.
You will.
Now, don't get me wrong, the temptation is still there to be like, oh, I wish I could go to like just get a good like egg sandwich, but I'm like, no, but I'm full and I feel light and I feel like
Bravo.
clear because I haven't been eating like bread right in the morning,
morning.
right? Which is usually our go-to
Yeah.
is a big breakfast, right? So is that a good thing, eating light
Awesome.
veggies right in the
Awesome.
morning? Good.
Laura,
I have this-
you just
Proud of
gave-
myself.
You just,
I could do that for you, Laura.
gave us-
Thank you.
I tell you, you're doing great, and that is
Thank
the
you.
way. That is the best way to start your day.
Okay,
And
good.
and you would know that you don't feel
I feel better.
hunger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel lighter.
Yeah.
You think. Check the way you process thoughts.
Yes.
You will feel it in your emotions.
Yes.
You think faster. You think better. It has a lot to do with your emotions, with your thoughts, with the functioning of your brain. All right. There's a lady. Her name is Leaf, Dr. Leaf. She's written so many books about the brain and how the brain functions in relation with what you eat, what you feed on. She's a good read, Dr. Leaf. You might want to just Google and then go online to just get her materials, because of course you will see the connection, how all of these things connect down. So in the morning, cooked food, you can take them out. Just do like what she said. That's a power meal. Get a good juicer, get the veggies together. Then don't be tempted to do more of fruits. Okay, do more of vegetables.
The veggies.
Because fruits on their own, they have a lot of sugar too.
Sugar, yeah.
Okay, so and then they are acidic. Vegetables are more alkaline, and so you want to put your body in an alkaline position, which is the best place for it to be. If it's too acidic, then you're preparing the ground for all kinds of distortion to take place. So make it alkaline by doing that. Then there's something I call emotional irrigation. Maybe we'll go there, but before then, I'm talking about rehydration, which is the aspect of taking water. A whole lot of the times we substitute water with other beverages. You got the pop. You have. Besides, I like the pop idea in Canada because when they give a cup of pop, it is 3/4 full of ice.
Yeah.
True.
So that's water already, the ice, right?
It's water, yeah.
This is scam, but again, I think it is healthy because, of course, they help you reduce in your mind. You think you're having a whole cup of
pop,
but you're not.
No, you're only having 3/4 ice.
That's being generous, David. That's being generous.
But you don't want that to be your go-to all of the time.
Yeah.
Take water.
I don't keep
What
juice
water
or pop
does
in the
in your
house.
system,
Yeah,
in your mind, in your brain, you cannot, you can't, overestimate it. I can't talk about it enough because if I start doing the chemistry, the biology of all of this, we'll be here all day. But
I'll tell you what, I changed
like Laura is
my
trying
diet.
it out right now for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Try it. Just your skin tone is going to change.
True, things do start to change.
You will see it. You will see it on your skin. You will see it. These are evidence-based things I talk about. There are things I've been working on people for almost 10 years. And the first thing they tell me is, without any medication, without anything, no supplement, nothing. I just did it for 2 weeks and look at me. I'm different. It works. It works.
I can testify to that because I went to the doctor in April and I came out with some different things that I had to change. So I found out about this farm and I started eating I'm telling you, so many vegetables all through the summer, everything, fruits, veggies, putting fruits and veggies in my water even. And I'll tell you what, I feel like I have gained 10 years on my life with
That's
my
amazing.
skin,
Wow.
how I look. I can looking in this.
Like,
You
is
do.
this
You look
me?
amazing.
Is this me?
Yeah.
Yes, that is you. That is you.
I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, and now that it's winter, the struggle is to find this now. So I went to the grocery store the other day, or a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to make a sound. And I was just like, this just isn't the same. So the organic thing, David, I really get that because I am struggling to get all the nutrients in me now that I'm having a harder time finding in the winter months. So is there any suggestion you have for that?
Say that again. I want to get that part of the question.
So I'm struggling with, because of our weather, right? And this farm, everything, goes less and not as much. We're not able to get the same fruits and vegetables that are really organic. Then when I go to the grocery store, it's just not the same. So I'm struggling to get the level of nutrients that I was getting before into me that made me feel so good.
Okay, so now when you get into the Shoppers Drug Mart, because again, see, the entire world, if there was anything we learned from COVID, we took away from COVID, is the fact that the system, the healthcare system that the whole world relied on was not reliable. I mean, no country of the world had an answer to COVID.
Yeah.
No. All right. And so that made people begin to go back into their, to study, to bring out new ideas, what can be done, what can be better done. And the first line of defense for everybody is your personal immune system.
Immune system.
Yeah.
If your immune system is broken down, then everything, is done.
Yeah.
But if your immune system is in place, there are people who came in contact with people who had COVID who never had COVID. It's an immunity thing. We can't measure immunity, and that is a problem. But there are things that you can be doing that will tell you that, look, at this time, your immune system is compromised. For example, sleeplessness compromises your immune health.
True.
Yep.
Excess sugar compromises your immune health.
True.
Yep.
When you place your blood, if you take your blood samples, take a sample before sugar, take a sample after sugar. Check for the mobility of your white blood cells. Without sugar, your white blood cells are moving faster. They are agile. They are active. With sugar, they behave like a drunk man.
Wow. Yeah.
They're drowsy. They're sleeping. So if at that time you are attacked, you come down with anything. And that is why it was so widespread. People could get it. It was going very fast, rapidly, because most of us go about with compromised immunity. So to answer your question directly, when you get into the stores, there are things there right now that you have to look out for. There are names, there are brands. Be careful. But you know what? Fola, they're going to pay you for adverts now.
They have to, because we call in names. Shoppers Drug and all that.
Superstore, Walmart.
I've done deals before. I know how to work this.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to talk to Katrina when we're done. Yeah.
You know Jameson?
Yes.
Jameson is Canada, right?
Yeah.
And they got all the supplements, vitamins D, blah, blah, blah. Leave that aside. Now, go look for Progressives. Progressive is also owned by Jameson. It's Canadian. And then they have these veggie green supplements. And I tell people, even for Laura, like you do your mix in the morning, you could just take a teaspoon and put in the smoothie, in your juice. Shake together, you drink. You'll be good for the whole day.
Can you call it again? Can you call the name again?
Progressives.
Progressive, yeah.
Like Jameson, right?
Don't buy. I'm not talking about Jameson. Right? Jameson owns Progressive, but the name of this brand is Progressive.
Progressive.
And then it is super veggie green. Okay.
So we can supplement then for the stuff that we can't get in the winter here in Canada. Then we can supplement it with a greens mix or something that we can put into our water.
Yeah, you can put that into your water. Just make sure it's not hot water.
Yeah.
Okay.
A drink.
And so so you want to get that supplement, just put a teaspoon into your glass.
Super green things, like you see, like super green. Like I think Costco has a thing like that.
Super green.
Yeah, that's okay.
Super green. But this particular brand is progressive. And the reason I'm talking about it is because you see there are so many super greens on the shelf right now.
Yeah.
You gotta look for those that have at least 60 nutrient factors minimum. 60 nutrient
So even if you can't get the
factors.
Progressive, if we find any other one with about 60 different nutrients, you can
minimum. There are those that have got 120 nutrient factors, 120 nutrient factors.
Okay.
And you go check them. Like your they have things like alfalfa in them. They have chlorella. They have a whole lot of them. It's like combining the power in nutrients of so many plants, fruits, herbs, vegetables. Put them together, compress them together into 1 teaspoon.
Nice.
When you take that in the morning, you feel energized. I have someone who tells me.
Eat all those veggies then.
Okay.
Laura,
That's
guess
great
what?
advice.
We don't have time.
We're running out of time.
Oh, this time thing. But I really need to read this because just to buttress what you said, based on the National Institute of Health, this is ncbi.gov. It says unhealthy eating is the leading factor or the leading risk for death and the second leading risk for disability in Canada. Unhealthy eating.
Yeah.
And
it's gotten worse.
So my question is, and I know David has spoken a lot, we're just going to touch on it because we're out of time. Oh God. But my question is, if the government knows this, who is advising the government? What's going on with?
That's a whole
lot of
question. Even David knows. If we get into that, it can be a whole other day. But I think
because I would assume if I'm in government, I want to put all this information out.
The bottom line, it's money making.
It's money.
Yeah. We can.
So people can die. You don't care. People can have unhealthy lives.
They want to keep us on medicine, right? So we have to do our own research, like what David shared with us, what Katrina shared with us, is that we have to have the most natural product, right? Things that aren't processed, because in this world, everything's so easy. We just grab it, we just order it, we just go to the drive-through, but it's garbage for us, and that affects the filtration system from our brain right to our stomach, how we think, our emotions, how we function. So it's like the last thing we want to do is follow advice for people that are trying to sell us medicine.
Oh, because
and keep us on medicine.
Yeah, because also you go on TV and you see this advertisement of the junk food, and you're like, wow, it looks, and even
it's so appealing.
we always joke in my house, like, why is this thing always looking so fine on TV? And then when you buy it, and it's not fine.
I take them to court on that. Someone took Burger King to court the other day on the premises that the advert, the way the food looked,
it's not the same.
What it looked. Oh.
Yeah.
And the person actually won some money. It was a class
act, right? Yeah.
But to answer that question you raised, Laura said something about it. I do think that whenever you see a problem, just follow the money. We were at the United Nations summit in 2018, yeah. And at the summit where we had all the, everybody was there and we were talking and brainstorming. And then I was confused because we were talking about the brain drain, how doctors are leaving Africa. They live in the developing countries for the developed countries. And then the question was like, so how do you expect the developing countries to
finally develop?
And then the question again is, how much does it cost to train a doctor here in Canada or in America? It is the money to train one doctor in America or in Canada. We train about 100 doctors back in Africa.
True.
Oh yeah.
True.
And so when we train them cheap in Africa and we export them to Canada. And then someone said to me, follow the money. Wherever the money is going, that tells you where the problem is coming from. When COVID happened, what are the companies that made money? Every company went down, some companies went up.
They made so much more money.
That gives you a clue. Okay?
Yes.
But what we can do as individuals and organizations is advocacy. Advocacy. How do we advocate? Government should reduce taxes and give tax breaks to companies who manufacture, farmers who produce organic products.
True.
All right?
Yeah.
More taxes. In 2018, Trinidad and Tobago were at that UN summit. The first lady was there, and the first lady said they are taking pork completely out of their schools, and they saw serious reduction in kids coming to school not focused, distraction, and an increase in academic exploit. In fact, it is something that the UN, even Canada, signed for.
But
You sign that. You see, most countries have been able to achieve. Portugal, they've achieved it. Switzerland, Denmark, they've achieved it. Taking pork completely out of the diet of the kids in school. These are the things we can do. We can advocate for. And then one thing she said was that they put more tax. They include the taxes on anything sugar. So when you're going into the store to buy anything sugar, you're going to pay more. Yeah. This is to discourage people, from buying those stuff. These are things that can be done, and the money is now used to reduce the taxes from people who produce organic. So we can advocate not just for ourselves but for our kids, because they are the target of all this advice. Yeah. You see the ads on TV, the kids love it. The kids, I see kids still going to one restaurant. I won't mention the chain right now so they don't sue us. And I'm wondering, what do they sell here? I can't even take a drink from this place. I won't mention the name. It's not with an M.
Don't shut us down before we begin.
But kids love going there. The fries are
my kid disturbs me
soggy, soaked in oil.
I know.
And I'm like, why do kids love this place? The colors, yellow and red. It has something it does to the brain.
Yeah.
It helps you. It creates the craving.
Yeah.
They are all emotional. These battles are battles of the mind. And you got to win them in your mind. I'm going to stop here because
we never have enough time to talk.
It is great information. So I think in conclusion, we can all agree, beyond, having systems in place that are practical, it's also super important to take care of our temple inside, right? And I think that even goes back biblically, is to be like, it's a sin to overindulge and do all these things. So it's like, we got to take care of our internal organs, our body. Stop feeding our kids this stuff because we're already setting them up for failure with their emotional state, right? So if we get our food right and we're trying to do those things, then everything that comes out of our mind and everything that we absorb is going to be healthier. And then hopefully, that in turn helps us also create a good system for when we do struggle with depression, anxiety, all those things, right? It just kind of levels out. But if we're already suffering with depression and then we're eating crap and then we're ordering pizza and we're staying in our dark room, it's like that is
it's a recipe for disaster.
Thank you. A recipe for disaster. You guys got it. Yes.
David, thank you so much. This has been so invaluable. Thank you for bringing your wealth of experience to the table, and I've learned so much. I mean, you're just talking, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm going home today. I'm taking off all the pops in my house, and I'm serious. I'm taking off because my son takes more than 2 or 3 a day.
Oh, Fola.
Because he's always jumping. So I'm taking that out of the house. And I'll definitely look for, the way I operate is, I'll look for alternatives, right?
Yes.
That's a good one. My son's not going to drink that.
Yeah, bubbly water.
So Fola.
Yeah, go ahead.
A good alternative would be the juice that Laura talked about. Now, for kids, you want to do more of the fruits for them. So it's
my
tasty.
kids love smoothies.
Okay. And
funny enough, my kids love smoothie too.
There you go.
But the pops are always around, and it's easy to.
But what David touched on, it's an addiction. Whether we like it, we get addicted to the glucose and the sugar, right? So you're gonna wean those babies off. They're gonna go through withdrawals.
I know.
And it's gonna be hard. And then you're just gonna say, what? Pop doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist in this house anymore. It doesn't enter this house. Yeah. True.
And they'll survive.
They will. They will.
Right.
It's true.
David.
Laura finished it.
He finished it, yeah. She finished it for you.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, David.
Yeah, you guys are operating on the same level now. Thank you so much, Katrina, for coming in. Katrina is part of the. I mean, what we're trying to do, Laura, you would agree to this, is we're trying to build a community, actually.
Yes, we really
where
are.
we can have this conversation, more people can come in.
Yeah.
When I was doing the show like this back in Nigeria, we sometimes have, and I told you, we have 6, 5, 7 people in the studio. We're just talking, right?
Yeah.
And the more you have this conversation, the better it is. David, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for obliging me. Please, I'll call on you again. We'll talk about some other topics.
Yes.
Katrina, your last word before we go.
This is really great. No, really, and you know what? Here. Don't put in this process of change. If you're gonna add the nutrition into everything that you're doing, it's a step at a time. Just as she said with the pop, if you can't just take it all away, right? So don't beat yourself up. It's a step. It's a process. It took me from June to now to really be on that really healthy lifestyle.
Wow.
So take your time with it as well.
Have a little grace, right? And just fill, I guess, more good, and then the bad kind of just
Kind of sips
itself.
away. If you've not taken anything away from this show, remember, eat well, be with the right people,
Yes.
pull down your walls, make new friends,
Take care
and
of
if you
yourself.
and take care of yourself. You are the most important entity on earth.
Yeah.
And on that,
true.
we do sign out. Have a lovely
Thank
weekend.
you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Look at your Instagram, people. Thank you, Instagram.
Well, do you want to see the numbers?
Yeah.
Or,
Okay.
so these.
Oh, it's beautiful. I know your Facebook ad said $5, but I only have 3. Is that okay?
Well, my mom got that for me.
You're selling it. Do you want